guys, Yips here, and today I'm going to be coming at you guys with just a sort of tips video on Mythic Cenarius. This isn't going to be a DPS guide whatsoever. This is more going to be about how you should work your playstyle around fighting Mythic Cenarius as an Affliction Warlock. Fighting Mythic Cenarius as an Affliction Warlock is a really good thing because an Affliction Warlock is basically designed for a fight like this. The reason Affliction is designed for a fight like Cenarius is because it's high movement. There's ads that spawn that are priority that live for a reasonable length of time, and you're constantly getting Wrath of Consumption procs, which allow you to do more damage. So let's just jump into it, and I'll show you guys how I do this fight. So there's a couple phases into this fight. There's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Let me just talk about this really quickly before we pull the boss. So phase 1 on this boss fight is going to be where a dragon spawns, a tree spawns, and there's Cenarius. Now, when the tree spawns, you want to make sure you're dotting that right away while maintaining dots and Cenarius. Do not worry too much about dotting the dragons. I dot them just because I'm super comfortable on this fight. It's not so much because it is necessary towards the kill. It's just because I'm comfortable. It nets me some extra damage and things like that, but you do not have to do it whatsoever. So basically the way this fight works is you keep dots on Cenarius, you keep dots on the effigy. In phase 1, when the tree spawns, you dot it, you stack up on your group for the Desecrating Stomp if there's no brambles near you and they're not on you. If they are on you, make sure you're not running in for that. And then after that, you just want to spread back out, make sure you're keeping dots on the tree until it dies, and then prepare yourself for the next phase. Now, phase 2 is going to be a phase where you want to be spread out from your raid group, you don't want to be stacked on any of the range. Make sure you're refreshing your dots in between on the effigy and Cenarius. And then when phase 2 happens, you want to make sure you're dotting the wisps and the sister. So here we go, we pull the boss, and I'm just going to maintain my decent DPS rotation onto Cenarius, pop some of my reap stacks, pop my pot and things like that, and just go ham during Bloodlust. Now, the tree is going to be spawning fairly soon, so you're going to see me getting ready for the tree to spawn. So the tree is going to spawn in the top right, and just make sure you're ready to dot that as soon as it comes out. So you see I'm already kind of looking over there. I'm prepared for it. As soon as it spawns, I'm going to throw my dots on it just to be ramping that agony as quickly as possible. So now I have dots on the tree, I have dots on my soul effigy, and I have dots on Cenarius. And now I'm just worried about maintaining those. I'm not worried about casting drain life too much. I'm just worried about maintaining my dots, minimizing raid damage, stacking for the stomp if I don't have brambles on me, and just doing good mechanics. Now, on this fight, obviously you can pad a lot by hitting the dragons, and you can maybe grease it a little bit by casting drain life a lot and trying to really min-max your damage with Pandemic, but I really wouldn't recommend it as it's not necessary, as there's so many mechanics going on that I really just recommend you try to minimize damage taken and maintain dots on Cenarius, the ads, and your effigy. This is going to net you the most damage for the highest probability of low risk. So this is more of a low risk way to play, which is really how you want to do it because you do not need to play high risk on a boss fight like Cenarius. So phase 2 is coming up. We dealt with phase 1. We dotted the tree. We dotted Cenarius. We kept dots on our effigy, and now phase 2 is coming. So you see, I'm getting away from the raid. I'm spreading out, and I'm starting to dot these wisps when they spawn. Now, the reason that I'm dotting my wisps when they spawn is because I really want to be generating that Wrath of Consumption proc, and I also want to get the damage that they do from the Soul Flame. So now, after the wisps die, I'm turning my attention to the sister, maintaining dots on Cenarius. It's not worth letting your dots fall on Cenarius to dot the sister. You want to make sure that those that are at 100% duration, as well as your sister dots being at 100% duration. So I'm dotting the sister, I'm dotting Cenarius, I'm dotting my effigy. That's 3 targets, so I'm doing tons of pressure here on the boss, and that's just a really good way that Affliction Warlock can handle this fight. I'm dodging mechanics, I'm avoiding damage, but I'm also pumping out huge amounts of damage because I have dots on 3 targets, and your dots hit very hard as an Affliction Warlock, especially when you have more targets to dot, obviously. So now that phase is over, I'm just kiting over, gonna clear my Creeping Nightmare stacks, and waiting for phase 3 to happen. During phase 3 as a Warlock, all you're gonna want to worry about is the derp walls and maintaining dots on Cenarius and your effigy. When Cenarius does get Malfurion entangled, you can break him out of that, you can put dots on that, but really you want to be focusing on burning down the boss, unless your guild does call for the strat where you want to burn down the Malfurion roots, in which case you just put a little bit more UAs into that. Basically, you still want to maintain, obviously, your uptime on dots on Cenarius. So you see here, I'm just running around, avoiding mechanics, keeping dots on Cenarius, keeping dots on my effigy, keeping dots on the entangling roots when they spawn, and the boss does end up going down. One really important thing to highlight on this boss fight is you never see me wasting glow boots. You never see me kind of just running somewhere and not pressing a button. You always want to make sure you're refreshing something when you're moving as an Affliction Warlock, and it's really easy to do. Don't worry about your pandemic timers in this fight. They're not important. Don't worry about, refreshing at good times. Just worry about utilizing your globals while you're moving, and you're going to end up doing good DPS on this boss fight. You're going to end up taking a low amount of damage, and if you can do both those things, you're definitely going to be contributing in your raid towards downing a boss like Cenarius. So I hope you guys like this tips and tricks video. It wasn't really too many tips and too many tricks, but there were a few things in here that I hope helped you out, and I hope that next time you go in Cenarius, it's a little bit easy for you as you a Warlock. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.